Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Comics Corner. I am Casey, this is Christy.
Hi.
So we've got a lot on tap today. We've got, of course, Falcon and Winter Soldier, we've got Supergirl, we've got Flash.
We've got casting news.
A bunch of casting news. We've got a couple of new trailers that just came out. And of course, for this week, we are talking the Joker and Baron Zemo.
Yeah,
so
very timely with this most recent episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier. We kind of got some Zemo action.
Yeah, I didn't plan it that way, but it worked out beautifully.
It worked out pretty ideally.
Yeah. So we've got a lot on tap this week, but before we get into the news, how's it been this week?
Well, construction has started at my house, so
yay! Improvements.
I'm looking forward to it being over already.
You know, I get that. I do.
Yeah. It kind of meant that all of my show watching has been crammed into the last 24 hours. So it's been an adventure, I think.
Yeah. I can only imagine. We had the craziest storm the other day, and my brain has just been. I took yesterday to just do nothing because Thursday sucks so bad for me at work.
Yeah.
We had multiple buildings flood. It was not fun.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, they can't build anything correctly to save their lives. But we had some fun stuff happen. I did like this week's Falcon and Winter Soldier a little bit more.
Yeah, it was better than the third episode for sure.
Yeah, it felt very boring up until now, and I was like, finally, all right, we're gonna kick it into high gear and really go after it. But first, we have the news. Well, I try. So
makes me want to talk in a newscaster voice.
Go for it.
I can't possibly for more than just that much.
So we had a lot of things happen this week that are very kind of business focused. We had the Ray Fisher expose come out with the Hollywood Reporter, which if you haven't read, I'm pretty sure I linked it somewhere in our Discord.
Probably in our recommendation.
Yeah, somewhere. Go read it. It is a very interesting read, and creates a lot of issues for DC, which they've had, some of which they claim to have fixed. I'm not so optimistic. Hollywood does not clean up their act unless they are forced to at gunpoint. We also had another article come out from the LA Times with, and I'm going to butcher his name, but the guy from Bridgerton,
Rene Jean Page?
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Claiming that he was denied a role in Krypton because he's black. And
yeah, I haven't seen Krypton yet. It's still in my to watch list, but honestly, I can't imagine why anyone wouldn't want to cast him on anything, cuz I've seen him in Bridgerton and he's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I would have make him Superman's grandpa. Who cares?
Yeah,
I get why they had an image in their head of, you know, it's got to be somebody who looks like he could have been the grandfather for anyone who's ever played Superman, who's always been a white guy with dark hair. Like they've really never strayed from that template. But in this day and age, cast people who are good actors.
Yeah,
you don't need somebody to look exactly like they've always looked in the comic books, because, you know, we can kind of suspend disbelief a little bit.
Yeah.
We have a British guy playing Spider-Man. Who cares?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I don't want any other factor to come into it except whether or not they can play the part, and whether or not they're good in the role. Now, yes, that is a slightly idealized view of the world, but for me,
that's
none of this
from the
is
fans' view. We want the best actor, the best story. We want to suspend disbelief and believe that they really are that person.
Exactly.
It's not about their physical appearance, and I don't think it's been that way for a very long time, but the studios tend to forget that.
Yeah. And
they cast based on if it looks like what somebody drew 40 years ago. I'm like, that's maybe not the best choice to pick an actor.
Yeah, and honestly, like, again, I have a slightly idealized view of the world because none of this matters to me whatsoever.
Yeah.
I don't care. I just care whether or not you can do the job. And whether or not you love the character you are playing.
Oh yeah, that would be fantastic.
Right.
And especially like if you're talking somebody who is not the main focus of the comics, this is the grandfather of Superman. You're telling a story that almost nobody's told before. Yeah. Why are you like forcing an issue here? You could have cast anybody in the entire universe to play that because it's not Superman. It's Superman's grandfather. He could have been anybody.
Yeah, and unfortunately, this is just another in a series of issues that has been a problem with Warner Brothers particularly.
It's really revealing that there is a long-standing culture at DC that has not been friendly to the fans. It has not been friendly to the actors. It has been very much a machine that is driven by a few people, and it's one of the downsides to that, I think. Like where we don't feel that same vibe from Marvel.
Yeah.
It feels very cohesive and very fan forward. DC has not, and I think that that's one of the reasons that their movies and their universe has not done as well.
Well, and also Marvel has very much, and there was a big fight a couple of years ago between Marvel Studios and Marvel Comics, and Marvel Studios won. So now Marvel Studios and Marvel Comics are on the same path. What's happening on the screen is reflected within the comics, which is fine. I don't have an issue with it.
Yeah.
DC has always been multiple universes, all at once.
Yeah, where they don't care if they're on the same page.
Yeah. They have so many people running so many different parts that you don't have your Kevin Feige running everything. And I think Walter Hamada is the guy currently running DC for Warner Brothers, I think it is. And he's had some issues. But he kind of inherited this disaster and really has done some things to correct it. And then, there's been other issues where, he believed people like Jeff Johns before everything started coming out. So you had kind of some backlash happening because he didn't have all the facts. And so it's really tainted a lot of how people view DC. I hope they fix it, but I'm not optimistic. Hollywood is literally like the worst of the worst when it comes to humanity.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised. I'm just disappointed, unfortunately. But on to slightly happier news. So, they did announce that Supergirl is getting a new series regular. I'm going to butcher her name, so apologies in advance. I think it's Peta Sargent.
It at least looks like that's how you would say it.
I'm hoping.
I'm horrible at pronouncing any kind of name too. But yeah, I would go with Peta Sargent as well, and she is from Snowfall.
Okay.
I feel like I looked up.
Who's playing Nihilix? An imp, which sounds fascinating.
In Once Upon a Time in Wonderland.
Okay, yeah, that's where I know her from.
Which is another CW property. So I don't think I've seen her in stuff before, at least not that I could have placed. But I am very excited. She's going to be playing somebody that I can only guess will be pronounced Nixley.
Sure.
Maybe.
Sure.
Which is a fifth dimensional imp.
Sounds
and she's
fun.
supposed to be a very quirky, fun character. The only fifth dimension person that I know is Mr. Mixolotl, or however you say him.
Okay.
And they have had him in Supergirl episodes for a few different times. He's cropped up over the seasons.
Gotcha.
And he's been a lot of fun. So I am looking forward to that. I think that'll be a fun addition for this last season. It sounds kind of like Supergirl's going to come across her in the Phantom Zone. And that might be kind of one of the ways that she gets out of there.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, hopefully she's a good addition. I will probably actually finish watching Supergirl when this season is over, and then I can just binge the entire thing.
Yeah, you know what? I'm probably gonna go back and watch it again, honestly, because I have been just enjoying it a lot. Thomas Lennon is the guy who played him, I think.
Okay.
It was bothering me that I couldn't think of who played him. So I'm looking it up really quick.
Hey, that works. So we did get some new we got
Mixel Pitlick, maybe? Okay, I'm good.
They have a history of making names that are impossible to pronounce, so
they really do.
I'm just going with best guess
in there.
Yeah.
Either names are all vowels or no vowels.
Yes. Okay, so we had a couple of things come out today, but I'll get to one more Marvel thing. So, for all you Hamilton fans out there,
Love
Kate,
her.
You should finally actually watch this. Just saying. Renee Elise Goldsberry has joined the She-Hulk Disney Plus series. Now, they have not said who specifically she's going to be playing.
They said a character named Amelia, but they haven't really tied it into the comic books yet.
Yeah, so not sure. My guess is she's going to play some kind of villain. She does that extremely well.
She's so good.
We had a couple of other cast announcements recently with Ginger Gonzaga playing the best friend, and then of course they announced that both Mark Ruffalo and Tim Roth will be reprising their Hulk characters, the Hulk and the Abomination, respectfully. And
you gotta imagine that Mark Ruffalo's not gonna be in every episode, but once at the beginning of the season, maybe once at the end.
Well,
I don't care. I'm there for any time I see his face.
So here's the problem. They're almost at the end, but Universal still does own the Hulk. And I want to say it's coming up in the next couple of years. Where it's going to be finally over, and then that'll be the last of the Marvel characters that they had to auction off basically in the 90s to avoid bankruptcy.
Which honestly, you get it, but thank gosh it's over.
Right? So up until now, they couldn't do any more than him be in another character's film, which is why Thor Ragnarok was designed the way that it was. So that'll be fun, and I'm curious to see where we go from there with that. But as of the breaking news for today, Black Adam has finally started filming.
Yep.
Hallelujah. I've followed The Rock on Instagram because he just seems like the most genuine person.
Anything that I've seen him in has just been a joy. The Rock played the Tooth Fairy.
Yeah.
You gotta love this guy. He is the biggest, strongest, toughest looking guy. And then what's his first big film role? He's the Tooth Fairy.
Well, and not only that, he has his daughters, his daughters have him just wrapped around his finger, and
so cute.
They're so cute, and I love it. I love that he sits there and watches Moana with them, constantly. It's so adorable to me.
There's actually, he was on the Graham Norton show, which I love watching Graham Norton.
Oh, he's hilarious.
Watched it on BBC.
Do it.
The Bretts are fantastic with late night, apparently. I love this show. but he was on there one time and he did the rap from Moana. And it brought me so much joy because there's this like really big guy and he's like singing and rapping and he's a good time. I love The Rock.
Well, and not only that, like
one of the few things about wrestling that I actually enjoy, much to my husband's dismay, because we've been married 12 years and he loves wrestling and I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
Who's that guy?
Yeah.
I get their theme songs wrong. I get their names wrong. It's a bunch of grown men in underwear. I don't get it.
Yeah, you know, it's sport masquerading, or it's theater masquerading as sport, basically.
Yeah, it's basically soap operas for, you know, dudes with pickup trucks.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. But yeah, I've been watching him like work, like hardcore workout for this role, and it inspires me to just get up and go to the gym on a daily basis. And I was just like, okay, if you can do this at your age and be as hardcore as you've ever been, I can go to the gym and ride a bike.
Yeah. Besides the fact that, of course, I watch all of the superhero stuff because, of course, I do. I would watch this movie for nothing other than just seeing The Rock. I love him that much.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait for Black Adam.
I can't tell you how many bad movies I've watched just because he's in them.
Like The Tooth Fairy.
The Tooth Fairy, Rampage, Race to Witch Mountain. Although the
Jumanji ones I actually really enjoyed.
Jumanji was good.
Yeah.
And Jumanji is good because Jack Black apparently was born to play a 16-year-old girl.
Yes.
Which weirds me out because I've actually met him and he is like legit one of the nicest people I've ever met.
So fun.
But yeah, I've watched so many. In fact, I'm probably gonna watch San Andreas later today because I love that movie, even though it's like wrong when it comes to like how earthquakes would actually happen in California. Yeah. But I'm from California, so we're required to watch any disaster film about California. Anyways, and then our last little bit of news, which I am super excited for, DC Animated released the first trailer for The Long Halloween Part 1 that they are going to be releasing on Blu-ray and digital. If you guys don't know what The Long Halloween is, it is basically Batman versus his entire rogues gallery in one night. Cool. So totally accidentally muted you there. Sorry.
Oh no!
It's okay.
How dare you?
This is why we record a backup in case I have technical issues because I'm paranoid.
Because you would just click buttons.
Well, to be fair, I have hotkeys and they don't always work the way I want them to.
Well, just for people listening right now, just imagine that I said the wittiest, most wonderful thing, and it was like mind-boggling, like mind's blown. Just. I had an epiphany. It was amazing, and you will never know what it was.
Hopefully I didn't do it too long, but I will sync it up and I will get it straightened out later. Anyways, so
I was just overexcited about something silly, and that's usually what I am.
It's all good. So that is it for the news for this week. We've got our This Week in Comics History coming up, and we will see you right after this.
And now, for This Week in Comics History.
And we're back. Alright, so no, I did cheat a little bit. I did go with the Joker, the Mark Hamill version of Joker, because that is my perfect version. If you could take Heath Ledger's performance with Mark Hamill's voice, it would be my perfect Joker.
Yeah, I think so. I'm thinking back to all of the Jokers that I've experienced because I've been around Batman for a long time, and yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, it's
because Mark Hamill's voice is just—he's the Joker in my head.
So, fun fact, he actually wasn't supposed to have that role. It was actually, they originally cast Tim Curry. But the first day
would have been fun.
Right? The first day of filming, Tim Curry was massively sick, so they called in Mark Hamill to fill, and then the rest is history.
Yeah.
It's like...
It's been decades. But yeah, that voice is just... I mean, it's gravelly, but it's squeaky, and it's funny, but it's serious and scary.
Ugh.
It's just
and the laugh,
perfect combination of elements.
The laugh.
I don't know how he just wandered into that voice, but it's the perfect way to do the Joker.
Yeah, and if you want kind of a taste of what a live action Joker would be, Mark Hamill did a series of Flash episodes for the CW.
Oh god, yes.
I forget the character that he played, but it was basically the Flash's version of the Joker.
I forgot about that. I'll find it in a second.
Yeah, it's fabulously creepy. It just made me happy. But I've got a lot of notes, so bear with me. I'm going to be looking at my
Not
Word
that we
doc.
aren't like super into the Joker here, because we are. But we promised to do some villains this week, so that's why it's Joker and Baron Zemo.
That's why, I am going to make a conscious effort to flip-flop between villains and heroes, because there is so many of both. And we're just doing, like, Marvel DC. We haven't even gone into Dark Horse or any of the,
some of the other franchises and properties.
Like, I know that Umbrella Academy Season 3 is coming soon. Probably will do an entire, like, episode just devoted to that before. Actually, maybe a couple going into it. Which is, it's a great comic, fabulous show. Highly looking forward to Season 3. But, okay, so, Joker was...
Okay, it's James Jesse, the trickster.
There it is.
We got there.
I knew
All
it.
right, now, the Joker.
The Joker. So, he first appeared in Batman #1 on April 25th, 1940. So he has...
the original villain.
Yep, well, him and Catwoman both appeared in the same first issue. He was created by Bill Finger, Bob Kane, and Jerry Robinson. Now, there is some controversy about this, because, so Finger basically, where is it? Basically, like, cut out a picture of an actor from the film, The Man Who Laughs, and they basically, like, sketched it with him as a Joker from a playing card. And so that was the original kind of character concept, and then Finger created the writing behind it, and then Kane was Robinson's assistant, and he claims that he helped actually, like, develop the Joker, and they kind of given it to him, but there's not everybody's sure that how much he actually contributed.
So Robinson was Kane's assistant, actually.
Oh, okay.
It was, other way around.
My information failed me.
It is based on, supposedly, it is based on his illustration of Conrad Veidt.
Yeah, that's the guy's name.
Yeah. So there is some controversy, and that does tend to happen in comics.
Yeah. Because
there were so many collaborations and multiple people working on properties that sometimes the actual, like, okay, so you can't point to one person who created something. It tends to be multiple people working together.
Yep.
And especially with something who's been around as long as the Joker, every artist and writer has contributed something to this character.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I love the most about the Joker, because even he doesn't know where he comes from.
Yeah, and there's kind of two trains of thought when it comes to the Joker. Either you love him having a backstory and an origin story, or you don't. Now, I prefer the Heath Ledger version where you don't have an origin story.
He literally says 3 different origin stories within the movie.
Yeah, exactly. So, in the comics, he is portrayed as a criminal mastermind with a psychotic, warped sense of humor. In the 50s, with the Comics Code, he became more of a prankster. They had a limited series run of the Joker solo title during that time, but because of the comics code, they had to reprimand him at the end of each issue, so they scrapped it after 9 episodes or after 9 issues because it wasn't gonna work. He's been Batman's kind of number one nemesis for the longest time. He had a bunch of different stories. He was big in the death of Batman's death of the family, where he killed, I believe it was the Jason Todd version of Robin.
I think you're right. One of the Robins.
Yeah, I know it wasn't Dick Grayson. So I think it was Jason Todd. And then, of course, of all of the origin stories, my favorite one is him falling into a chemical waste tank that turns his hair green and his lips bright red, and it makes him weird.
It's one of the more common tropes, especially in the films.
Yeah.
That usually it's because he got knocked into a tank of chemicals. But yeah, he's got so many different backstories, so many different iterations of himself. The Killing Joke is one of the most well-known and most influential storylines for him.
Yeah.
And then Batman the Three Jokers really explains, it explores this idea that there are multiple Jokers.
Yeah.
That they're trying to perfect themselves and create the perfect Joker. So there's dozens of backstories and dozens of versions of him, and it's just, there's a lot of very conflicting works where people have brought something new to the table, and really that plays into, is Joker crazy?
Yeah.
Or is he crazy on purpose? Is he a prankster? Is he a villain? The answer to everything is yes.
Yeah. And honestly, like, at the core, he's a psychopath. And maybe, well, he's not, he does empathy too well to be a sociopath, but, you know, he really, the 1966 Batman TV show was really what kind of threw these characters into the cultural zeitgeist. And that's where you see, you know, a lot of people know Batman, Robin, Catwoman, Joker from that. And he's been everywhere. Like, there's so many places to find him. It's ridiculous. And he's been portrayed by Cesar Romero, by Jack Nicholson, which I wasn't a huge fan of the Nicholson one.
Yeah, that was
weird.
That was picking and choosing from different parts. He was fine, but he wasn't as lighthearted or as sinister as some other people have played him.
Yeah.
It was more like a gangster that happens to be dressed like a clown.
Yeah, it was too weird. But anyways, I digress. And then, of course, by Heath Ledger, Jared Leto, which I actually didn't mind Jared Leto in Batman v Superman. Not Batman v Superman. The Snyder Cut.
Suicide Squad?
The Snyder Cut. The Suicide Squad, he sucked, but that was more writing.
Snyder Cut, that's one of the first places where they really fell.
Yeah.
They promoted him hard as being the new Joker, and he was in like a minute and a half of that movie. And he was just kind of dressed as like a tatted up version of Joker.
Yeah.
Not really anything that we typically see with him.
Yeah. Now, I like the Joaquin Phoenix Joker.
I still haven't watched that. It's on my to-do list. I've got a long list.
Yeah,
of stuff to watch.
It's an interesting film. It is very much a social commentary rather than a origin story. And it is the most political I've seen DC get. They don't pull any punches. Which I have to say, I don't typically like it when my movies get political, but I didn't mind this. So I highly recommend it. Go check it out. It's a very, very good watch.
Now, that being said, some of those live action portrayals Heath Ledger's Joker and Joaquin Phoenix's Joker have been given awards.
Yeah, they both won Oscars.
Yeah, that is not something that you typically see with superhero movies.
No.
I think Black Panther was up for some awards when that came out.
Yeah,
it tends to be a genre that is overlooked by like the Oscars and.
So I actually have some reasoning for that. Shows. So the Oscars were created by the studios to celebrate themselves. I mean, literally, it's Louis B. Mayer
it's like
created
Valentine's Day is there to sell chocolate, you know?
Yeah, it's pretty much.
Grain of salt.
And very typically, superhero films are not recognized. And the only reason that Heath Ledger was because he died.
Yeah. Although, seriously, best portrayal, I think, in my own opinion, he did an amazing, sinister, like, you felt like the Joker was real and would really kill you in the next 5 minutes quite happily. That was a disturbing portrayal and fantastic.
Yeah, it was creepy. And there is some kind of thought that because Heath Ledger was very much a method actor, that he got too far in psychologically and couldn't get back out. Which I think there's some truth to that, unfortunately. Because it's happened with other actors.
Yeah.
But, and then of course the Joaquin Phoenix one, really, like, you couldn't ignore how good of a performance that was.
He won the Academy Award for Best Actor.
Yes. And then Black Panther was nominated for a bunch of things. It was nominated for Best Picture, which it was not going to win, but the nomination was a win. Was
just the fact that it was nominated was definitely a success on their part. I think that we're getting to the place where the big award shows are recognizing that you can tell a story and you can frame it with superheroes.
Yeah.
But it can really have a bigger impact on the audience.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be some highbrow drama in order to be the best movie of the year. In these cases, those were very powerful performances by very good actors, and they deserved to be nominated for their work.
Yeah.
Heath Ledger and Joaquin Phoenix both. I think they do an amazing job.
Yeah. So Black Panther was nominated for 7 Oscars. It won for costume design and I believe best score. But I could be wrong. But it was also up for production design, best song, sound editing, and sound mixing. Let me check and see if they actually won.
And Heath Ledger's award was also the Academy Award, but for Best Supporting Actor. Not superheroes have some technical awards, and Best Supporting Actor, Best Supporting or Best Actor with Joaquin Phoenix's version.
Okay, I missed one. They also won Best Production Design.
So it's really we're breaking the barrier here, where we're saying these superhero movies, yes, typically have been overlooked, and that is from 2008 on.
Yeah,
we have really 3 movies we're talking about.
Yeah,
where they have been nominated for really any kind of the top tier prestigious awards.
Yeah,
that's 3 times in 13 years.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like, Hollywood looks down on blockbusters when it comes to awards. That's why they get a lot of the technicals, but not any of the big ones. And it'll be interesting to kind of see going forward. I'm keeping a very close eye on things like WandaVision, because it could very easily do for awards what The Mandalorian did for Star Wars. And if that happens, then you're going to see a shift in terms of how things are viewed.
This is exactly the conversation that we need to be having, because WandaVision was so groundbreaking.
Yeah.
And did it so well that just like everything we've been talking about, if you haven't watched it yet, go back and watch it, because it is just a masterclass in how to take the superhero genre and apply it to something else. Do something completely different, and it works. It works so well. They did it just like you want to keep watching it over and over again, even when you know what happens.
Yeah, I actually, I was in like a weird sappy mood, so I actually did go back and rewatch it,
Nice.
last night, and it holds up. Like, I still laugh at all the jokes.
Yeah.
Even though I've seen it like 30 times.
It's just,
I love it.
Because unfortunately, Heath Ledger passed away after filming Dark Knight, but he did have an amazing performance, and I think absolutely he deserved to have Best Supporting Actor for that, even if he hadn't passed away.
Yeah.
But that moment, him being awarded one of the most prestigious awards for an actor, that was this one benchmark. And Joaquin Phoenix being nominated for and winning Best Actor, Black Panther being nominated for Best Picture, even though they didn't win. These are all benchmarks that we're hitting so that something like WandaVision can be taken seriously by the critics and by the awards shows. And I really hope that they do, because it's something that the fans have always been flocking to, these kinds of movies, these kinds of shows, because we love the properties. And it's like we're finally being taken seriously.
Which is reminding me,
you don't have to have like a Cannes Film Festival kind of film be the best picture every year.
Yeah.
You can have something that appeals to the masses.
Which is reminding me, tonight is the DGAs, which is the Directors Guild Awards, which is the first one that WandaVision is nominated for. So,
all right,
whether or not they win tonight will kind of be the indicator of what they're going to do going forward. Unfortunately, they're up against some stiff competition from both Queen's Gambit and Hamilton. So, yikes. But I have faith. They can do it.
Yeah, the category they are nominated for is Outstanding Directing Miniseries or TV Film.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is a lot of competition there, because one thing that coronavirus gave us was the ability to sit down and just like watch a show.
Yeah.
So thank you, coronavirus. Something like Queen's Gambit.
Yeah.
Which, okay, so it's not comic book related, but I watched it.
It's a great show.
I do actually watch other things too. I don't go anywhere. I've got a lot of free time. But something like that would have been overlooked by a lot of people if it wasn't for coronavirus. So they really had that prepared and released at exactly the right moment for them.
Yeah. And unfortunately,
that couldn't have worked out better for them.
Yeah, it hit right on the edge of the awards time frame, so it will be eligible for all of the big ones this year. Except I think it was on last year's Emmys, I think, actually.
I think so.
That sounds right.
Yeah,
anyways,
but they definitely won a few awards already.
Yeah, so unfortunately, you know, that'll be some of the stuff going forward.
It's also up against Hamilton.
Yeah, I know. I saw that, and I was like, "Ee!" Yeah. See, but here's the thing.
Okay, I don't know Little Fires Anywhere or The Undoing, but Queen's Gambit, Hamilton, and WandaVision are all up for the same award this year. Like, good luck.
Right. So
Hamilton was amazing.
I don't see, but I didn't like Hamilton. I didn't like how they shot it. But that's a different discussion. I don't think Hamilton
felt like you were at the theater.
Yeah. Well, for me, it was very glaring to me that the rest of the cast is here and Miranda is down here in terms of acting ability. Good
point. But he wrote it, so you kind of you want to let him slide a little bit on the acting chops.
Yeah.
So Queen's Gambit has already won Golden Globes, Critics' Choice, IGN, Satellite. Actually, they were only nominated for Satellite Awards. They didn't win.
Yeah.
Writers Guild, Screen Actors Guild. So they are wrapping up their awards season.
Yeah.
We are getting back around to the fact that it's been out for over a year.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be nominated for much more.
It'll make the Emmys will be the last
more
one.
Power to them. It was a good show.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. Kind of going forward. Kind of what the reception is. But yeah, we'll see. I'm cautiously optimistic at this point.
See.
But
yeah, I hope so. WandaVision really deserves all of the critical acclaim that it can muster.
Yeah, 100%.
Now, meanwhile, we were talking about Joker.
Yeah, meanwhile. Okay, so, done with Joker. Moving on to...
distracted.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This happens a lot. My brain is, like, firing on tangents. As you can see,
we both go off
behind
on tangents. It's fine. We were talking about...
I have so many posters.
We were talking about Joker, and then we talked about, Jack Nicholson's Joker.
Yeah, not good.
Escape podcast. Definitely said "Dance with the Devil" by the Pale Moonlight as his, like, killing catchphrase.
Yeah.
It was awkward. It was weird.
Okay, so Baron Zemo was created by Stanley Jack Kirby. His first appearance was in a flashback in Avengers #4 in March of 1964, so slightly behind, but I'm going to tweak it and move it forward a little bit. And then, of course, didn't appear in person, didn't appear in person and wasn't identified as Heinrich Zero until Avengers #6, July 1964, and Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos, #8, within the same month. He was retroactively added to Captain America's hero reintroduction in the Silver Age 2 issues prior. He is mostly a Captain America villain. But they did tweak him for the MCU to make him kind of the destroyer of Hydra, which, I'm all for. Although in the comics, he is mostly in Thunderbolts. And then you have a history of the family history, which I'm not going to name all of them.
They basically, if it starts with an H, they're a Baron of Zemo.
Yeah, basically. And in the comics, they are from Germany, and part of the Nazis.
Yes, so German H names.
Yes. So, we got Heinrich, who was with the Nazis, who fought Captain America and the Howling Commandos during World War II, which I think this was the basis for Zola, and kind of what they took to kind of make Zola, the scientist in Captain America: The First Avenger. So we have a kind of long-standing feud with Captain America, and then we get to the current Baron, the 13th Baron of Zemo, Heimlich, which I'm probably saying wrong, so bear with me.
Helmet.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's pronounced helmet.
So that is the current Baron Zemo that we see in the MCU. He is, in the comics at least, he battles Captain America a number of times to avenge the killing of his father. He is responsible for bringing back the Masters of Evil and then forming the Thunderbolts within the comics. Now, within the MCU, the character is slightly different again. He does...
And it makes sense why they did it the way they did.
Yeah.
They tie him into Sokovia versus just Germany in general. Which gives him a little bit more of a home that we can kind of relate to through the MCU.
So, in the MCU...
And it also makes sense why he'd be so against the Avengers, because the Avengers kind of destroyed Sokovia.
Yeah, so
like, not on purpose, but they totally did.
Yeah, within the MCU, he is a colonel in the Sokovian Armed Forces and commander of the Scorpions. And then, of course, following the Battle of Sokovia, he became a terrorist who sought revenge against the Avengers, and therefore Civil War happened, which was a lot of fun and highly entertaining. And then, of course, he was most recently broken out of prison by Bucky to get to the Power Broker. So he's got a weird kind of history throughout kind of the MCU and just kind of Marvel in general.
Almost as if they're taking the character and making him an unsympathetic anti-hero.
Yeah, a little bit.
Because he's playing by his own code.
Yeah.
And doing something that he thinks is right. He's very against the super soldiers in general. And that really makes sense why he would have fought against Captain America.
Yeah.
And against Bucky, really. Because he doesn't like that they have been enhanced.
Yeah.
But the way he goes about them is by pretty much cold-heartedly killing anybody who gets in his way.
Yeah.
So he's definitely somewhere between anti-hero and villain.
Yeah, he's a good protagonist, and he fits that role very, very well. And at least within the MCU, his entire kind of goal is to destroy Hydra and to get rid of super soldiers. He says he has a line in this week's episode where he talks about people that want to create super soldiers are supremacists. And I'm probably saying that line wrong, but that's the gist of it anyways. And it's a interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, he was basically saying that super soldiers and the people creating them inherently believe in supremacy.
Yeah.
Because just the fact that they're better than.
Yeah.
You know, like they're trying to create something that's better than, and he's trying to get rid of that at all costs.
Yeah, and it's an interesting way of looking at it. Because when you go back to looking at Cap, you've got, okay, we created this weapon because the threat in front of us looks so insurmountable within World War II, the Nazis,
right.
etc. Okay. The flip side of that is you've got the current version of things where you've got Carly and her group being super soldiers because they are, you know, the small band resistance fighting against the so-called, or at least in their mind, you know, kind of global conspiracy. And
right.
Again, it goes back to insurmountable odds, but I'm not entirely sure they're right on that, and I have some thoughts that we'll get into a little bit later when we talk Falcon and Winter Soldier.
When we talk about the episode?
Yeah, because I have a lot of thoughts on this episode, most of which I wrote in our spoiler section as I was going through it, but
yeah.
It helps me keep track of things. Anyways, so yeah, that is our comics history for this week. We will be back after our lovely little commercial break here for all the CW recaps. So we will see you guys right after this.
Hey there, Bounty Honeys fans. The Llama here to let you all know that the Honeys have an official merch store. You can get merch from all your favorite honeys, plus you can get our very special Bounty Honeys charity shirt. The proceeds of that one go to whichever charity that the Bounty Honeys are currently supporting. The one we have coming up is To Write Love on Our Arms. And you can't leave the store without getting an official Team Llama shirt to let the world know that Kate Gaming is always sus. The merch link is in our official Discord server. It's either down in the description below, or if you're on Twitch, you can hit !Discord. We can't wait to see photos of all of you repping your favorite bounty honeys.
What's up, everybody? It's your girl Kate Gaming here from the Bounty Honeys, here to tell you about our Discord channel where you can keep up with the latest Bounty Honeys news, including when the Comics Corner podcast, hosted by Critty K and Geek Girl, is being live recorded, when Swugga videos are released by the Llama and Kate, and when we are going live on our personal channels. To join our Discord, check out the link in the description below.
It kind of brings me joy.
Hey, and we're back. So we've got all kinds of fun stuff. So take it away with our CW recap.
Well, we've only got 2 recaps for this week. It is an off week for Batwoman, but she will be back next week. And then Superman and Lois won't be back until the middle of May. So first we have The Flash. We have just started our new story arc with The Flash, where we're talking about the other forces out there. And because it's comic books, there has to be alliteration. So they all start with S.
Of course.
So this week we learn about the Time Force, but they reason that the Time Force is really the opposite of speed because it could make you stand still if it stopped time. So this must be the Still Force.
Oh, God.
I don't understand the reasoning behind that, Mr. Comic Book writer person that wrote it 30 years ago, but the Still Force is this week. And then Psych, which sounds like it would be alliterative, even though it's spelled with a P, is the Sage Force, because Sage is wisdom and that's intelligence, and that comes from Psych. And then Strength Force, which makes actual sense. So those are the 3 forces that we've been dealing with. With this one, our kind of B team of cohorts, it's Chester and Cisco. They go to set up these kind of early warning system of these different forces showing up, and they immediately get stuck in a time loop, and they get sent back to the 90s. And honestly, for nothing else, this is amazing fashion. It's just, it's glorious. It is every bit of the 90s, like patterned vests, overabundant MC Hammer pants with patterns. Like, it's glorious. You should just watch this episode, even if you don't know what the Flash is. It's worth it.
Have you seen that YouTube video, the Take Me Back to the 90s?
I haven't seen that, but
my God,
I'm sure it's probably pretty similar to this.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up and send it to you. It's hilarious.
Thanks. So basically what they're gonna do is they have to blend in, and they have to look around to find who is actually the Force, because everybody seems to have like a personal manifestation.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're scanning, they're trying to figure it out. At the same time, Chester is having kind of like a backstory moment where they run into his father, who he thought didn't care about him. And he realizes that, his father was actually working really hard to give him a better life. So he has this great little father-son moment. And
Nice.
Creepy hugs his dad, but his dad doesn't know it's him.
Of course.
So his dad's just like, weird guy, get off me. It was fun. And then they eventually track down the person who is controlling time.
Okay.
And they have this great speech because of his father-son moment, where he's like, you can get past that, and you can make your own future, and you don't have to be the person you thought you were going to be. Because like basically what the guy is he was a star quarterback in high school, and since high school his life has kind of fallen apart.
Mm.
And so the fact that now he's a force of power, he wants to live over and over again this perfect day back in high school, so he doesn't have to be the guy without a job that he just doesn't like it, where his life's going.
Gotcha.
So I'm like, okay, well, first we had the power of friendship, then we had the power of love, and must be the power of optimism. Like, it feels like this season is all about like big warm-hearted moments. But then the bad guy kind of takes that and goes too far with it, like anybody would, and decides, yes, he can make the future anything he wants to be for everyone.
Okay, so they're going House of M.
Yeah, well, almost. So yeah, he kind of is going to take that off the rails, but they managed to break out of their time loop, and they're going to get back with their team. But what I think is being set up here is we're going to have at least one more interaction with each of these different forces, because nobody's been defeated yet. And at the same time, like, that's storyline A. Storyline B is the Speed Force looks like Barry's mom, who was killed when he was a kid. And she's kind of having these like real nice heart-to-heart chats with Iris. And she was just creepy the whole time. Like, she's giving me evil vibes, even though she's supposed to be the Speed Force and like all that's good in the world and Barry's biggest champion. She kept saying things like, well, I'm going to be here because I want to be here when we find any of these other forces. And Barry even has like a weird look on his face, like, why?
Yeah.
So what I expect, if I was the one writing this, then I would expect what's going to eventually happen is all the other forces, so Still and Sage and Strength and whatever other ones we haven't met yet, are all going to team up to somehow defeat the Speed Force, because the Speed Force is going to be the overarching evil of this episode somehow, or the whole season.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Right now she's just super creepy.
Awesome.
All right, Supergirl. So in our last episode, Lex was defeated. So this one starts with his trial, because nothing like immediately throwing a trial, and it has like 3 people in the courtroom and the jury are all on Zoom calls.
Oh, that's fabulous.
There's just this huge TV wall, and each one is their own little TV screen, and they're the jurors. And Lex is his own lawyer.
Of course.
So there's the DA, the judge, Lex, and then whatever one person is on the stand, and they're the only ones in the courtroom.
Well,
so yeah, it starts off with his sidekick, who he was in love with him, but she testifies to the fact that Lex manipulated her and killed people and did all these horrible things. And then Lex is like, but why would I do that? You loved me. And then he makes it sound like she did it all because she loved him and he rejected her. And so then everybody's like, oh no, he's going to get away with it. And so then his sister comes in and testifies to the fact that he warped all of her technology in order to control people. And then he's like, but you could have done that because you had the ability too. And then they fight. And then he admits to being an evil mastermind, but blames it on the women. And he's like, they're bitter women. And so he was, yeah. Oh no, it gets worse.
Oh boy.
So he's saying all of this stuff that, yeah, he wants power and he wants to take over the world because he is powerful and they're just bitter women and trying to drag him down because he's got power and they don't like it. And then the jurors acquit him.
Oh God.
And you're like, oh my gosh. The entire time. It was so bad. Super bad. So his whole thing now is like, apparently people like to be told how it is. And I was like,
sure.
Sure, this is how that works. It's so terrible.
Oh boy.
So that's the first part. And then we switch to Kara in the Phantom Zone. And she runs into her dad, who she thought was dead. Because we love bringing people back to life in comics. So what happened was when Krypton exploded, at the very last second, her dad sent himself to the Phantom Zone because he had stayed behind to make sure everybody else got off in Argo, which has been explored in this and Superman and Lois a little bit. It's the capital city and it's kind of just floating through space by itself. So he saved everybody and then sent himself to the Phantom Zone. And he explains how it works is the phantoms kind of trap you in your own nightmare until you go crazy. And that's why, like, there's no escape from it. and you eventually get kind of imprisoned in your own mind. But if you don't go outside and you don't hope for a rescue and any of that, then basically, like, you can survive. You're not living, but you're surviving.
Gotcha.
So it's very much like Azkaban, if you like Harry Potter. Phantom Zone equals Azkaban. So she decides that she's going to save her dad and escape. And then her friends for Storyline C, they're trying to find a way to break into the Phantom Zone, which is actually fun because they get this guy to show up and help them, who is basically a vampire from the planet Transylvania.
Okay.
Which they're like, which apparently is a thing. So it's a comic book alien who is the inspiration for vampire stories.
Okay, that makes sense.
That was a good time. He was breaking into a blood bank when they found him.
Of course.
It was very cute. So he's going to try to help them break into the Phantom Zone because he was trying to break in to rescue somebody and didn't succeed, but like he figured out a way to get in. He just couldn't find the guy.
Gotcha.
So they're hoping that once they get in, they'll be able to Dreamer will be able to sense where Supergirl is and be able to rescue her. But once they get there, they realize that the Phantom Zone has actually been fractured into multiple areas because the opposite happened to it when Crisis occurred. So they're doing a really good job of tying everything back to the last crossover event they did. It's been pretty fun. But one of the Phantoms manages to kind of hide, like it tries to escape the Phantom Zone and hide on Earth. So we're going to have some interesting moments with like things going amok, them trying to break in, Kara trying to break out. It kind of just basically set up how the rest of the season is going to go with what everybody's motivations will be. So a nice, episode 2 kind of situation. Pretty good. So
nice.
That was the CW for this week.
Nice. I like it. So, Falcon and Winter Soldier. Oh boy, do we have a lot. So before we kind of break down the episode,
spoilers.
Yeah, definitely spoilers. But also wanted to kind of do a little deep dive more into how they're portraying Sam within the MCU, particularly when it comes to his military background, because I don't think a lot of people understand this. So, in the MCU, they mentioned several times that he is a retired pararescue from the Air Force. What that means is he is better than the SEALs, Delta Force, and the Marine Special Forces combined. He was
using experimental tech.
Yeah.
To fly with no like parachute thing kind of happening.
Yeah. So he has to it's typically 2 years of training that you have to go through. And they are like, the best way to describe them is they are a Navy SEAL with airborne ranger skills that also happens to be a paramedic.
Yeah.
And
these are very highly skilled people.
Yes. These are the guys that they send in when everything has gone wrong. For example, if any of you guys are fans of military history, or you've seen like the film Lone Sniper, no, not Lone Sniper, Lone Survivor, that's the right word. Where they basically had like, it was a 4-man team, 3 of them died, and then there was a crew of 16 that died in a helicopter. Those are the guys they sent in to go get him out of Afghanistan. Like, it's a lot that they have to go through. And they talk about, Walker. It's a little bit easier for people to kind of understand Walker's background. Because not a lot of people know about, the Air Force's special forces.
Yeah. So Walker is another soldier.
Yeah.
And he's, best of the best.
Yeah.
So, but what you're talking about with him is he'd be more like the Navy SEAL kind of version.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he's a good, skilled person. Don't get us wrong.
Yeah.
But Sam is like a whole nother level above that.
Yeah, he is like, John Walker, don't get me wrong, the way they portray the character, and this is nothing against, Army Special Forces or anything. I have friends in real life that are Rangers. Those guys are nuts when it comes to their training.
Totally skilled, totally amazing.
Totally fabulous. But they all have different roles that they play.
Yeah. If we were to put it on a level of like grades in high school.
Yeah. John
Walker is an A student.
Yeah.
GPA's up there. He's good. He's whatever. Sam is valedictorian.
Yeah, exactly. He is the elite of the elite. And then because he was flying with an exosuit, he is like, so he's in the top 1% already. And then he's in the 1% of that 1%. Like, he is the best of the best.
While we're talking about that,
there
is something about this episode that really struck me that I forgot about. At the beginning, the very first moments that we're meeting Sam, he is a retired soldier.
Yep.
And he's working with like veterans groups, like guilt and survivor kind of situations. That really comes back into play with this episode.
Yeah.
Where he's used to talking somebody down. He's used to being that supportive ear. And he played that role with Steve Rogers. That's really how we met him in the first place.
Yeah.
Is he was being supportive and kind of like a counselor.
Yeah, and here, this is the creed for pararescuemen. It is my duty as a pararescueman to save life and to aid the injured. I will be prepared at all times to perform my assigned duties quickly and efficiently, placing those duties before personal desires and comforts. These are the things I do that others may live. And you can see that in how Sam interacts with everybody, but particularly
with Carly. Those interactions. Yeah, this is really playing really heavily into who he is as a person.
Yeah.
And what his experiences have been. He's not just a guy who's flying around and able to shoot guns and runs into danger. This is really playing a lot more with his backstory than we've seen before.
Yeah, and this is really the first time that we see more of his backstory really come into date. It's not what I want. And, we get more into the kind of nitty-gritty of the military than most people do. And for the most part, they are actually pretty accurate. I'm actually genuinely surprised. I'm not sure who their advisor on this is, but they're doing a pretty good job. And we get a couple of interesting things happening in this episode. And we start off with flashing back to Bucky back in Wakanda, going through the final test of whether or not his programming has been ejected. And
that was such a touching moment.
Oh, so good.
She was his Wakandan guide. Eo, I think her name is. She was going through the words in Russian that would trigger his programming. And he's just saying, no, stop, no, and crying. And it just, it was a heartbreaking moment.
It was really just,
And when she said he was free, like, oh gosh. If you've ever enjoyed a moment of Bucky, this was like him trying so hard to be a good person and to get past everything that was done to him. It was such, and it didn't last long. It was a couple of minutes, but it was definitely a tearjerker for me. My eyes were like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. And we get into, and then we go into the news coverage of the bombing that was in the previous episode. And Zemo has some interesting monologuing here, talking about the fact that people that want to have super soldiers, as we talked about earlier, are supremacists, and kind of picking up on the idea that both Sam and Bucky feel that they're both incapable of picking up the shield, and that it's becoming apparent that John Walker isn't good enough either. Because
oh
boy,
does it ever become apparent?
Woo!
Wow. Like I knew we were gonna have a moment.
Yeah,
I did not expect the moment we got.
Oh, I about halfway through the episode I went, oh, so that's the incident, and then we got to the end of the episode and I went, oh.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, did we have a moment?
Oh boy, yeah, we'll get there. Yikes. And it's interesting because we kind of have two very different. So we get Bucky, Sam, and Zemo. There's the right words. On the trail of Danya, trying to find out where this funeral is going to be. Mm-hmm. And then on the flip side of that, we have Walker and Lamar kind of going, we don't have anything, we don't have any leads. We don't know what we're going to do next. And that's
so
what
they're trying to follow Sam and Bucky.
Yeah, they're basically stalking them, which is creepy.
They're like, well, we'll just follow them to, get there the same way.
Yeah. And the interesting thing and it's so typical of how government works. They blow up the GRC building, and immediately the first thing all the governments do is, we're going to shut down the borders. And I'm like, well, I mean, I get it to a degree, because you don't want your own place getting blown up. But it also kind of really just kind of hammers home a little bit more what they're fighting against. And so they go and they find this little kid who Zemo kind of whittles out their location.
Can we just talk 1 second about Baron Zemo gets information by offering candy to children?
Honestly, like, you can bribe anybody with food.
He walks up and he has a handful of candy and he's like, hey kids. I was like, oh my gosh, can we not do this?
I mean,
it was creepy.
Yeah, but he is a creepy character.
He's a super creepy character.
Yeah, he really is. It's
even just the Daniel guy that plays him, Daniel Brunt or whatever. Mm-hmm. He's a creepy guy to begin with. Like, he just has the look on his face, the expression that, if I walked up at Comic-Con, I'd be like, do I want to meet him? No. Thanks, I'm good.
I mean, the first place I saw him was in the film Woman in Gold, which
I think he was the German soldier in Inglourious Bastards too.
It wouldn't surprise me. But in that, he played the son of a Nazi who was trying to atone for his father's sins. And I'm like, you kind of look like the son of a Nazi.
Yeah, he really does.
Just saying.
Because the Nazi soldier in Inglourious Bastards, he just plays it like he just looks like the guy who would be. I'm sorry. I'm sure you're a lovely person in real life, but I'm going to avoid you.
Yeah, 100%. So I slightly skipped over something. So Carly, and I forget, I don't remember the character that she went with. They go to the cemetery where they grab the rest of the super soldier serum, and they make a point about discussing the fact that heroism today means that they can't keep their hands clean. And that's why, somebody like Steve Rogers doesn't really fit in the current world.
Right.
And so we go into they finally find where the funeral is. Sam and Carly have a discussion in which Walker, because he's an impatient idiot.
So Sam is using those skills that we mentioned. He's trying to talk to her and be like, I understand what you're coming from. I I sympathize with your cause. You're just going about it the wrong way.
Yeah.
He's really trying to like reach her on that personal level, and looks like he's having some success until Walker interrupts them and everything goes downhill from there.
Yeah. And there's a point where Walker has this moment where he finds one of the serums.
Yeah.
After
Baron Zemo was smashing all the serum.
Yeah. And he found it.
One just kind of rolls away, and you can just feel the character being like, ooh, that's for me.
Yeah.
And he's finally going to get everything he wanted. He'll be super like Steve was.
Yeah, and honestly, everything about Walker's character can be explained by the Erskine quote from the first Captain America movie.
Totally.
Not a good soldier, but a good man. And John Walker is a good soldier. He's not necessarily a good man.
Yeah.
And
the super soldier serum worked on Steve because Steve was a good man who wanted to protect the little guy, even when he was the little guy. Everything, like he fell on a grenade. He stood up for he stood up against bullies.
Yeah.
Steve was always a good guy, and that's why he became a great Captain America.
Yeah.
And Walker, you're starting with somebody who is a soldier first. He's used to settling things one way, and you can tell that he's a flawed person. So if he takes a super soldier serum, everything gets amplified. Those flaws get amplified.
Yep.
We're very quickly going to see that.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there is a moment where they talk about where Carly and Sam are talking, and she's talking about how Captain America has become a Nazi, and I'm like, I don't like it when people use that kind of language so flippantly, because when you use words flippantly, they lose meaning. And
yeah,
I understand that they were doing it to make a point, but
yeah,
not a fan. So Walker takes the last vial of super soldier juice, and we get into kind of why Cap is a little unhinged. The fact that, and for those people that don't know, the fact that he has 3 Medals of Honor has never happened in the history of the Medal of Honor. I think at most there have been like 2 that have been owned by or that have been awarded to the same person. Let me look. But they get into the fact that it really is reminders of the worst day of his life. And for those that don't know, the Medal of Honor is awarded for gallantry and valor above and beyond the call of duty. And most of the time it's awarded posthumously. Very rarely is it awarded to a living service member. And
because it's awarded for the types of things that very rarely you survive.
Yes, and it really, really is not. It is not awarded often anymore. It is awarded usually heavily during wartime. So there was a lot during World War II, a lot during Vietnam. There was several during Afghanistan. But there hasn't really been many since. So the fact that he has 3 of them is
it's
yikes.
It should make you understand the kind of stuff he's been through and the kind of person he is.
Yeah.
But one of the things that we missed was actually that the Dora Milaje showed up.
Oh yeah.
And had a little fight between Walker and Lamar and Bucky and
I forgot about
Sam.
that. I skipped ahead in my recap.
Yeah.
And I read 3 things early.
They had a fight because the Dora Milaje wants Baron Zemo.
Yeah.
He is effective. He is ultimately the person who was responsible for King T'Chaka's death.
Yes. And they have a great line that I love where it's like the Dora Milaje has jurisdiction wherever the Dora Milaje find themselves. And I'm just like, yes, can I get a Disney Plus show of just them training and like going through everyday life?
I would love it. I would love if that's what we do with Wakanda, is just spend a lot of time with the Dora Milaje.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
They're fantastic. But they have this fight.
Yeah.
And they are against people who have the super soldier serum.
Yeah.
You know, like they are fighting against those people in this episode.
Yeah.
They're fighting against Bucky and they take his arm off.
Which is so cool.
Yeah. They're fighting against very highly trained Sam and Captain Walker and Lamar.
Yeah.
And kicking their butts.
Yeah.
And there was a moment where Walker was like, they aren't even super.
Yeah.
Like he can't imagine a world where girls who don't have superpowers just kicked his butt.
Yeah. I mean,
and so that focuses us on the fact he's got super soldier serum.
Yeah.
And we don't see him take it on camera, but he very obviously takes it.
Yeah.
Where he knows that he is not Captain America, whether or not he has the shield, and he wants whatever he can get, so he's got an advantage. He wants to be super like Steve. He wants to be this paragon of virtue, but he is not that man.
No, not at all. And, you know, Lamar poses it interestingly. Power makes a person just more of themselves. And, you know, you've got 2 very different reasons for taking the serum. So you've got the Steve Rogers of, I want to serve my country, and this is the way that I can do it.
Yeah,
you know?
He wanted to protect people. He wanted to fight the good fight.
Yeah. You know, you've got the, you know, why would anyone let a German scientist experiment on them for their country? You know, and on the flip side, you've got Walker taking it because I don't want to lose anybody else. And it's obvious he has some PTSD. And while I appreciate them it's not PTSD anymore, it's PTSS. Because it's not a disorder, it's a syndrome. But you've got, you know, obviously some severe mental issues there, which I'm glad they are portraying, but from what I know and from people that I've talked to in the research that I've done, they screen very heavily for stuff like that. So he wouldn't be in the special forces, you know, elite of elite to be able to do it. So it's kind of a weird dichotomy.
At the same time, it might be something where, like, the things that he's been through have maybe caused something to come to the surface that he was real good at hiding before.
That's possible.
And maybe that's why they made him Captain America, because Captain America is supposed to be basically like a caricature of a real soldier. It's supposed to be somebody that you can use to sell stuff and have interviews, and he's not supposed to really be out there fighting anymore.
Yeah, and that was kind of obvious in the way that they did, you know, him kind of doing stuff. It's very similar to what they did with War Machine, you know, where he was just going down, kicking down doors.
You want him to be a photo op,
yeah,
not running activations. And it's been Steve Rogers and Rhodey actually being like, you know, I'm going to take this stuff and I'm still going to do good with it.
Yep.
You can see John Walker's trying to do the same thing, but he's not being successful because he has all of these other issues that really he should be dealing with and he's ignoring.
Yeah.
So I think that they're playing it exactly how they have to. And there's been a lot of people being like, oh, I hate this Captain America. You're supposed to.
Yeah.
You're supposed to not like him. If you read the comics, you're supposed to not like John Walker.
Yeah.
Like he's a flawed character on purpose. So this actor is doing a fantastic job of playing this character right. You are not supposed to be on his side.
You know, there's been a meme floating around the last week or so about, you know, there are 2 scenarios. You know, you had the Elizabeth Olsen got a lot of hate when Chadwick Boseman died because she didn't post anything on social media. well, she's not really on social media, just generally. Okay. Yeah. Then the flip side, you have everybody hating Wyatt Russell for this character. And the meme was, you guys are so petty and tiny. Like, knock it off.
Yeah.
This doesn't have to be, like, this isn't a thing. You know, who cares if someone doesn't post something on social media? It's their actions, not their words, that I care about. And if you don't like a character, fine. Do not make this another, I can't think of the kid's name from Star Wars, or another Ahmed Bed who played Jar Jar Binks. Do not destroy someone's life because you don't like a character.
Yeah. You're not supposed to like every character.
Yeah, seriously.
That's how stories are told. There's always going to be a bad guy.
Yeah.
And Captain Walker is supposed to be a bad guy.
Yeah. And
like, read the source material and you'll figure it out. Like, you'll understand who this guy is supposed to be, and you'll understand why they're playing him the way they are.
Yeah. So then we get to the final fight.
Such a good fight. I will say, like, by this point, Falcon and Winter Soldier had me on the edge of my seat.
Yeah.
This episode we'll talk about again, but, you know, it was a lot better than episode 3.
Yeah.
And by this point, I was like, yes.
Yeah. You could see them kick this into another notch, and I was like, finally, about time.
Yeah.
So we get into the fight. It's very obvious that Walker has taken the serum at this point.
Mm-hmm. And punching people through walls.
Yeah. And really kind of throwing people everywhere and doing the shield properly and all that fun stuff. We have
Sam and Bucky, we have Lamar and Walker, and we have our super soldier flag smashers.
Yeah.
So really we've got super people all around.
Yes. And at one point we've got they kick Lamar into a concrete column. Sad. And I went, oh, if he's not dead, his spine is broken. And he did die, unfortunately. And the optics don't look great. You know, you have a character that is established in the comics that you didn't really flesh out within the episodes. Granted, there's a lot of storylines going on, so I'll give them that. Who then died to kind of take Walker to the next level. Like, the optics on that don't look great.
It's very much along the same lines of killing a superpowered person's girlfriend in order to make them start their superhero journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a little bit of that. Like, you needed Walker to be angry, so you kill his best buddy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have to? But I think that they were trying to condense it for how long this show run is going to be. They want to get to a very specific place for episode 6.
Yeah.
And I think that they chose the quickest way to get there. Whether or not I agree with that, it's done.
Yeah.
Because you wanted a turn.
Yeah.
Walker hasn't done, like, he's been kind of a jerk.
Yeah.
And he hasn't been the Captain America we want or deserve. But you needed him to go to a dark place and fast. Yeah. And so this is how they got there.
Yeah.
So he is immediately traumatized by losing Lamar and storms off to exact his revenge very, very violently.
Yeah. He, like, I'm not a fan of how the media is spinning this. You know, again, I don't look at race. For me, it's you had a guy who's been through hell with his best friend at his side for the last 10, 15 years. And he just died. He's going to go get revenge now. And that's exactly what he does. You know, he literally beats the guy to death with the shield.
The edge of the Captain America shield.
And you talk about, like, in a public place.
And that's where we get the title for this episode, which is The World is Watching.
Yeah.
Because quite similar to what would happen in real life if something of this sort of thing would happen. Everybody is standing there recording it with their cell phones.
Yep.
Nobody's calling the cops, which I think would also probably happen.
I hope.
But they're standing there recording it as Captain America, who is supposed to be truth, justice, and the American way, literally beats a man to death with his shield and stands there holding it, looking at people with like the blood. It was graphic.
Yeah, it was bad.
So Sam and Bucky show up and they're like, what just happened? What do we do?
Yeah. And at that, like, I'm assuming the next episode is going to start right where this one ends, and it's going to go with, he just lost his shield, you're done.
Yeah.
And
we knew that there had to be some way where Sam and Bucky take the shield from him.
Yeah.
There are 1,000 ways it could have gone. This is the way they chose to take it. But I get, like, knowing the source material, Walker was never going to be able to stay as Captain America.
Yeah. Because
he is a flawed person. He has to become U.S. agent somehow. And because this is only a 6-episode miniseries, it had to happen a lot more forcefully than, like, if this was just a normal TV show, I don't think this change would have happened until like midpoint season 2.
Yeah.
You know? Because this is a mini series, they're going a lot faster than it probably would have happened, but we need the next episode to be something where he's got to be captured, he's got to be imprisoned, and the shield is taken away, and we don't know what's going to happen or how they're going to recover from this. And then finally, the last episode, Sam is going to pick up the shield and save the day.
Yeah, and you know, you needed something that was irrefutable as to why they were taking it. And
yeah, I thought he was just gonna like scream and have a mental break or something like that. I didn't think it was going to be actually as violent as it was, but I expected it to happen, and I was expecting it to happen in this episode.
Yeah,
because we've got to have the denouement. We've got to have something change where the heroes hit their lowest point. And I think that's going to be through episode 5 before we have the redemption and the resolution of all these storylines in episode 6, which will be the last, where finally Sam comes to terms with what he's been asked to do, and he finds his own way to be Captain America.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting. I'm curious to see kind of what they do going forward. My guess is this is where he's going to become U.S. agent and go rogue in an attempt to get revenge. And I think we're going to see kind of a similar faction or similar thing to what happened with Cap going off and, you know, just recklessly abandoning after Bucky died. So I have heard some rumors, and I totally forgot to mention this in our news section, but we do officially have an opening for the Avengers campus for both Disney World and Disneyland. That's in
nice.
June, I believe. I think it's June 4th or 5th, something like that. So there is, and I did hear this from a reporter, don't know who it is yet, but apparently there is a surprise cameo coming in episode 5 that is supposedly not Florence Pugh, but it is a character that has not shown up yet in the MCU.
Oh.
Right? And I'm like, ooh, okay, let's go. Again, no spoilers as to who it is, because the reporter doing it did not say, I'm assuming to protect their sources. But interesting things going forward. We've got very little left in this mini-series, and then after this series is over, we're going to kind of shift gears a little bit, because we got about a month in between for Loki. We're going to have some friends on and talk some geeky things and give you guys a little bit different.
We'll keep talking about comic books, because we'll have some DC shows to cover, some news, but maybe we'll talk a little bit more about people's favorite characters. kind of go into deep dives with that, not just somebody from history, but talk about some other properties. Maybe I'll finally start watching Umbrella Academy, things like that.
Yes, and
I did start watching something else that was on my list, which is Thunder Force. And I honestly cannot tell if there is source material or if it is just a fun, silly movie.
I've heard it's
I'm like
bad.
an hour into it, and I enjoy it.
I've heard it's not good, and I'm like,
it's a Melissa McCarthy movie. It's it's silly and it's fun and it's problematic, but so far I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I might watch that later today while everything is exporting and uploading.
I'm pretty early on in it still.
Yeah, I watched some of the reviews for it. They were not good. And I was like, ooh, okay, cool.
Yeah, it's so far it's very much like Tammy or
Gotcha.
Pumpernickel. What was the one when she was the bounty hunter?
Oh, shoot. Unfortunately, like, there's this series of films that she's done with her husband, who I'm like, it's great that you guys are working together, but you guys don't produce the best films.
Yeah. Well, I did like Spy.
Spy was good. Spy was good. I also liked Identity Theft with Jason Bateman.
Yeah.
That was hilarious. Oh yeah, The Heat.
That was the movie I was trying to think of. Sandra Bullock and Melissa McCarthy.
That one was fantastic.
That was pretty funny. It's giving me that vibe, like that kind of level of humor, where like Adam Sandler movies all kind of felt like Adam Sandler movies.
Yeah,
it's the same thing with Melissa McCarthy. They all kind of feel like that same level of humor. So yeah, you kind of it's not MCU, but it's kind of silly. Like, she's not in her costume yet. Right now they're giving her like injections. So she has super strength, and right at the moment she's eating like platefuls of raw chicken because it's the only thing she can stomach. It's disgusting but funny right now.
Oh god, that sounds gross.
That's about where I'm at.
Oh boy. Okay. I'll have to add it to my list. But yeah, that's it for us today.
That's it this week.
Yeah, I have some ideas. We're gonna tweak some stuff and add some stuff to our comics history thingy. I have this idea about doing like little mute cutes for each time we encounter a new character, of like when we first encountered them, etc.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah. Random ideas,
ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, random ideas that I have, either listening to other podcasts or just randomly as we're going through stuff.
And since we're getting to the point where we're about to start having some guests on, if you are interested in that, we've had a couple of people mention that they'd like to come hang out with us. Just message us on our Discord. We have a section all about Comics Corner, called Comic Book or Comics Corner Recommends.
Yep, that thingy.
And you can recommend to come hang out with us.
Yep.
We also talk a lot about the stuff that we're watching in the spoiler zone.
Yep.
Which is often where we kind of live tweet whatever we're watching. We're like, oh my gosh, this minute. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. Me. That is me. I do that a lot.
We'd love to hang out with you.
Yeah. Our link for our Discord is down below, as well for all of the channels. We've got a couple of things coming up this week on the channel. We've got GAC here later this week with Kate and the Llama. We've also got community game nights that we do. So check our Discord for more information on that.
I'm going to start stealing the channel occasionally when it's free. And
go for it.
I am going to be hanging out playing a couple of other games that we don't often stream. I play The Sims a lot, and I'm also going to try playing Command & Conquer, which I haven't really played since I was a teenager. Have a good time with that. And I'm also available to draw, and I'm going to see how that goes, because I do design shirts every week, and I wanted to see if people would want to watch how those kinds of things are being created. Maybe some more porgs for you.
Yay! All the porgs.
So many porgs.
We have
draw a couple of new llamas.
Yeah. We are getting that point where like we each have our own little like random thing, and then we just have weird ideas for stuff all the time. Some of which are going to be.
I keep getting tagged in the chat, and they were like, "This thing," and I'm like, "Okay, I guess I'll draw that."
We have weird conversations, or we have conversations on the stream and voice chat, and it's like, "Hey, maybe we should do this," and I'm like, "Okay, let me get my phone out."
So we're going to be doing a lot of different things and just kind of hanging out. So come spend some time with us.
Yep. So yeah, next week we will be doing Falcon and Winter Soldier, the CW stuff. Haven't decided what our characters for the week will be yet, but I will let you know.
It'll be a lovely surprise for you.
Yes. Check out our recommended reading for this week. Put a bunch of stuff in there for both Joker and Baron Zemo.
Yeah, basically we're just excited about Joker, though. Go back and read 3 Jokers and The Killing Joke.
Yep.
Amazing stuff.
And if you don't want to read it, then go watch the Killing Joke animated series, or animated film. Mm-hmm. HBO Max, fantastic.
Paul actually did. He had it on in the other room. He's like, "Is this Mark Hamill?" I'm like, yes, it is.
Yes, he's fabulous. Anything by him, animation wise, top notch. So yeah, that's what we've got coming up. We will see you guys next time. Stay geeky.
Yeah. Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.